So last year, um, when Hurricane Ian hit um, the Gulf side of the state, a group of us deployed down there, and um, we were kind of, I was, and I know one other person at least was looking for that to be an opportunity to like get us out of a rut that we were in, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually. Like we wanted to have that awakening. So when we went down there, um, we were basically just doing work for the residents of Pine Island for whatever they can afford. Like, so we knew a job might have been a $10,000 job. And if that person told us they only had 1,500 bucks, we're like, okay, we'll do it for 1,500 bucks. And then we were using that money. You know, there was some people that were willing to pay whatever needed to get paid for the work, but there was a lot of people that couldn't pay it, and we would just put in the sweat equity and just do it, right? And the mission was just coming from a place of wanting to serve, and the only reason why there was a transaction there was because we needed to be able to sustain the operation. We were renting equipment, we were paying workers to help with to do it with us. And we stayed for from when it happened almost until the end of the year, like right before the holidays. And a lot of it was amazing, but at the same time, like I realized that at least within myself, like for the first couple months of this year, I felt like the mission had failed because the mission didn't do what we wanted it to do in us. Like it didn't like it sparked something then while we were doing it, but then I got back and I was like, now what? Like, where's the lasting effect? Where's that runner's high that people get? Like, why don't I get that? And then like at some point I was even mad at God, because I was like, look at how much look at what I did. Was that not enough to like get me out of the situation that I'm in? And then I realized that I was still having a transactional relationship with God, and that's not how it works. So Raylan had been trying to get me to do Chasing Alignment for over a year before I started. So a year from the beginning of this year. And every time he came up with it, I was like, oh, I'm too busy. I got too much going on. Right? I always had an excuse. So in January, when we came back, my work pipeline for my company had kind of dried up because I had not had any contact with the people around me, around where I live, for 4 months. So I had to start building up that pipeline again, and I would go out and do estimates, and I would do whatever I could, and like nothing. Dry. No work. And I was like, what's going on? Like, why? Like, I kind of felt like it was a punishment. And by then, like the guys that were with me, the guys that came from here, came back home to Jacksonville and got back into their groove and got back into their lives, and were being prosperous. My brother had gotten a good job, and landed somewhere, and then here I was with nothing, unable to support my family, unable to pay bills. And no matter how much I was willing it to happen, no matter how much I tried to make things happen, it wasn't working out. So in that process, like, I went to tell Raylan, asked me again, and he was like, bro, why don't you do some Warriors Peace now? Like, come chase alignment with us. And I was about to tell him that I was too busy, and I was like, too busy doing what? I have nothing. Like, there's no work, there's nothing. So I was like, all right, bro, but when I get a job, like, I'm done. Like, I can't, like, feeding my family takes priority over whatever this is. I had a very limited scope of awareness. Like, I didn't see a lot of the stuff that was going on. Actually, a lot of the growth has happened since April, but those first 4 months, like the first like intensive part of the year, for me, what it gave me was it lit a fire inside of me again. I mean, it didn't light the fire. The fire's always there, so it stoked the flames. And then what the tangible effects of that is that you start feeling more active and engaged. There's just something about waking up in the morning, putting your time in to check in with yourself, moving your body, talking with God, and then being able to just do whatever that day has for you. Like, there's not a specific program. It's not, let's check these blocks. It's like, yeah, this is what we're doing, but if this thing that we're doing takes a left turn and turns into something else, like, we're just gonna go with that, and let the Spirit move and do what it needs to do, because that one person that's in the room needs that. It always feels, I have a different perspective of what's going on because I check in online. I'm living in Tampa. I come in on Zoom, and I'm the guy whose head is in the box on the TV screen behind the group. Now we have another person that also checks in on Zoom, so it's cool not being the only Max Headroom. But the just being able to listen to what everybody else is going through or dealing with takes that feeling of like, this is only happening to me out of the equation. It becomes very personal. You feel like I said, I felt like I was being punished, right? And I was like, why am I getting punished? And I'm like, this isn't punishment. This is life. Life is hard, right? How are we going to deal with life? And what Warriors Peace is, it takes you from looking outside of yourself and seeing those things to looking inside of yourself and seeing what needs to change on the inside to be able to provide that affect for the things on the outside of yourself. The rite of passage was pretty awesome. I think we had fasted for 72 hours from a couple days before it started to going through the rite of passage, and then at the end of the rite of passage we all went and we broke our fast together. Everybody was fasting the same thing, like we were all fasting food during that time, and which was something really important to me because since the start of this year, like, I lost 50 pounds in this year, which I didn't, like, that was my goal. My goal was to lose 50 pounds, and I did. And then I kind of stopped doing the whole thing, but just because I was like, I'm okay. Like, I feel okay right now, and maybe next year we'll do something else. But in that process, we went out to the woods and we camped out. During that time, we went on a couple of walks, and we had these sit-down sessions where everybody would come together and talk about something, and we would have a speaker come in and just give us something to contemplate on, and then we would break away from the group and then sit by ourselves and either process or meditate or pray or whatever it is that we needed to do. And then we would just do that. It was kind of like breathing on a macro level. Like, all of us were coming in, and then we exhale, and then like inhale and get something from it, and then exhale again. And it was an amazing experience, and having that culminate like 4 intensive months, like a season of work, really puts like that exclamation point at the end of that sentence, and says like, you did this, right? But just like with everything else that you start, when you're doing these, when you're on this path of growth and awareness, like then you realize like, oh yeah, that was a great chapter. That's not the entirety of the book. My name is Diane Navarro, and Warriors Peace is helping me achieve purpose.